안녕하세요.
The light rain drizzled over Seoul, reflecting the city's vibrant lights on the wet sidewalks. Inside the grand headquarters of J Group, Kang Junho strode confidently through the entrance hall. His cold gaze and impeccable posture revealed his position. CEO of one of the country's largest corporations. For him, every second mattered, and every detail around him had to be under control. And then it happened. Shin Hae-jin, a young janitor, was rushing to finish her shift. With a cleaning cart beside her, she struggled to balance a stack of folders that a secretary had asked her to deliver. Distracted, she didn't notice the fast and determined figure approaching. The impact was inevitable. Documents flew through the air, and a water bottle, which hadn't been properly closed, tipped over, spilling onto June Ho's expensive suit. Hae-jin's eyes widened as she swallowed hard. "Oh my God. I'm so sorry." She quickly bowed, gathering the scattered papers from the floor. Her hands trembled. Junho glanced down at his now stained shirt, taking a deep breath. He lifted his gaze, and upon seeing the desperate expression on the girl's face, something unexpected happened. He didn't feel anger, only curiosity. "Do you always go around bumping into people like this?" His voice was firm yet not hostile. Hae-jin looked up quickly, surprised by the lack of aggression in his tone. "No, I mean, never. This was an accident." She hurriedly tried to wipe the water with a tissue, but realizing her mistake, pulled back. I can pay for the dry cleaning." Junho raised an eyebrow, crossing his arms. "You want to pay for the dry cleaning of this suit?" A deep blush spread across Hae-jin's face. That suit probably cost more than her entire year's salary. "I can try." He couldn't suppress a slight smile. Something about this clumsy yet sincere employee intrigued him. But before he could say anything else, one of the directors approached, visibly distressed. "Mr. Kang, the shareholders' meeting is about to begin." Junho glanced at the man, then back at Hae-jin, who was still kneeling, gathering the papers. Without another word, he walked away, but not before casting one last glance at her. When Hae-jin finally finished picking everything up, she let out a deep sigh. Why did he look at me like that? Little did she know that encounter would change her life forever. The following week, Shin Hae-jin did everything she could to avoid crossing paths with Kang Junho. She still felt embarrassed about the incident and feared that she could be fired at any moment. However, to her surprise, he never mentioned it. No reprimand, no punishment. It was as if that encounter had never happened. Or at least, that was what she thought. Junho, on the other hand, couldn't get the young employee out of his mind. Her genuine demeanor and simplicity contrasted sharply with the elegant and calculating women he was used to dealing with in his social circle. He often found himself discreetly watching her, unable to fully understand what about her drew him in so strongly. One night, while reviewing documents in his office, a noise from the hallway caught his attention. Stepping out, he saw Hae-jin kneeling on the floor, trying to clean up a coffee maker that had spilled coffee all over the office kitchenette counter. Her uniform was stained, and she sighed in frustration. "You have a real talent for causing disasters, don't you?" Junho's voice echoed through the room. Hae-jin turned quickly, blushing as she saw him standing there, sleeves rolled up, no tie, looking far less imposing than usual. "Ah, I didn't know you were still here, Mr. Kang." She hurried to her feet, wiping her hands on her apron. He stepped closer, grabbed a cloth, and began helping her clean up the mess. Jin's eyes widened in shock. "What are you doing?" "Helping you clean." "But you're the CEO. This isn't appropriate." Junho smirked slightly. "And who decides what's appropriate or not?" Hae-jin averted her gaze, feeling her heart pound. There was something in the way he looked at her, something that made her uncomfortably aware of his presence. That same night, rumors began spreading among the employees. Someone had seen the CEO helping a mere janitor. The whispers grew, some harmless, others malicious. And among those rumors, the news reached someone who should never have heard it: Junho's mother. The following week, Shin Hae-jin did everything she could to avoid crossing paths with Kang Junho. She still felt embarrassed about the incident and feared that she could be fired at any moment. However, to her surprise, he never mentioned it. No reprimand, no punishment. It was as if that encounter had never happened. Or at least, that was what she thought. Junho, on the other hand, couldn't get the young employee out of his mind. Her genuine demeanor and simplicity contrasted sharply with the elegant and calculating women he was used to dealing with in his social circle. He often found himself discreetly watching her, unable to fully understand what about her drew him in so strongly. One night, while reviewing documents in his office, a noise from the hallway caught his attention. Stepping out, he saw Hai-jin kneeling on the floor, trying to clean up a coffee maker that had spilled coffee all over the office kitchenette counter. Her uniform was stained, and she sighed in frustration. "You have a real talent for causing disasters, don't you?" Junho's voice echoed through the room. Hai-jin turned quickly, blushing as she saw him standing there, sleeves rolled up, no tie looking far less imposing than usual. I didn't know you were still here, Mr. Kang." She hurried to her feet, wiping her hands on her apron. He stepped closer, grabbed a cloth, and began helping her clean up the mess. Hai-jin's eyes widened in shock. "What are you doing?" "Helping you clean. But you're the CEO. This isn't appropriate." Junho smirked slightly. "And who decides what's appropriate or not?" Hai-jin averted her gaze, feeling her heart pound. There was something in the way he looked at her, something that made her uncomfortably aware of his presence. That same night, rumors began spreading among the employees. Someone had seen the CEO helping a mere janitor. The whispers grew, some harmless, others malicious. And among those rumors, the news reached someone who should never have heard it: Junho's mother. The days that followed were suffocating for Shin Hai-jin. The rumors in the company only grew, and curious stares followed her wherever she went. Malicious whispers echoed through the hallways, and the weight of the unwanted attention began to crush her. But the hardest blow came when her supervisor called her in for a private conversation. "Hai-jin, I'm so sorry, but we need you to resign." The woman averted her gaze, visibly uncomfortable. Hai-jin's eyes widened. "What? Why? I haven't done anything wrong." "The board believes your presence here is causing unnecessary distractions. You know how these things work?" Her heart sank. She clenched her hands over her apron, fighting back tears. That night, sitting at the small table in her modest apartment, she made a decision. If Junho was being harmed because of her, then there was no choice. She had to walk away. The next day, Kang Junho stepped out of the elevator and immediately sensed something was wrong as he passed the cleaning department. The usual sounds of brooms and quiet chatter among the staff were missing. His instincts screamed at him. He walked straight to the supervisor and got to the point. "Where is Shin Hai-jin?" The man hesitated. "She resigned this morning." For a brief moment, Junho's world froze. Minutes later, he was in his car, speeding through the streets of Seoul. His chest burned with frustration. How could she just leave without telling him, without giving him a chance to do something? When he arrived at the simple apartment building where she lived, he saw her coming down the stairs, carrying a box with her belongings. Her eyes widened at the sight of him, but before she could speak, he grabbed her wrist firmly. "You are going to leave without saying anything?" His voice was low but heavy with emotion. Hai-jin lowered her gaze. "I couldn't keep causing you trouble, Junho. Your name, your reputation, your family. And what about what I want?" He cut her off. "Does what I feel not matter?" She looked up at him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's not that simple. We come from different worlds. I never cared about that, and I won't let anyone decide for me." The cold night wind blew around them, but Junho saw only her. He made his choice at that moment without hesitation. "Come back with me. If I have to fight the world, I want to do it by your side." Hai-jin felt her heart race. Could she really believe in this? In him? But before she could answer, a sleek black car pulled up in front of them. The door opened, and a poised, imposing figure stepped out. It was Junho's mother. The tension in the air was palpable. Kang Soo-min stepped out of the car with firm strides, her gaze sharp as a blade. Shin Hai-jin felt a shiver run down her spine. It was as if the night had grown even colder. Junho remained by Hai-jin's side, holding her hand firmly, as if to make it clear that he wouldn't back down. Get in the car, Junho. We need to talk. His mother's voice was controlled, but there was a menacing rigidity in it. He didn't move. Anything you have to say can be said right here. Sumin let out a heavy sigh, as if she were dealing with a stubborn child. You don't understand, do you? Your reputation is crumbling. The shareholders are losing confidence. If you continue with this nonsense, you'll lose everything you've built. Junho let out a short, humorless laugh. Everything I've built? Or everything you want me to keep intact? His mother's eyes narrowed. Do you think love pays the bills? That feelings sustain a billion-dollar company? Are you really willing to lose the board's trust over a woman? Haijin felt her heart clench. She didn't want to be the reason Junho lost everything. Summoning her courage, she stepped away from him and bowed deeply to his mother. Mrs. Kang, I understand your concerns, and I don't want to be an obstacle for Junho. If being with me is a problem for him, I will step aside. Junho turned to her, outraged. What? No, Haijin, you're not doing this. She gave him a sorrowful smile. Maybe your mother is right. Maybe love isn't enough. He cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to look into his eyes. I decide what is enough or not, and I choose you. His mother's expression hardened. If you go through with this, you're out of the company. Your father has already agreed with my decision. You will be removed as CEO and lose all financial support. The silence was crushing. Haijin's eyes widened in shock, a wave of guilt washing over her. But Junho simply straightened his shoulders and met his mother's gaze with unwavering resolve. So that's it. He exhaled slowly. You taught me to fight for my goals, but you never said I had to abandon what makes me happy to do so. Sumin remained unmoved. You're making a mistake. Junho smiled, determination gleaming in his eyes. We'll see. With that, he took Haijin's hand and gently led her away. She glanced back, seeing the unreadable expression on her future mother-in-law's face. Junho was about to lose everything for her, but he looked so certain. Could they really overcome everything together? The scandal was inevitable. The next day, news outlets and gossip sites were flooded with headlines about Kang Junho's downfall. He had resigned from his position as CEO of J Group, relinquishing the fortune and empire that his family had built for generations. But he didn't seem shaken. Sitting in Haijin's small apartment, he held a cup of coffee, looking at her with a peaceful smile. You don't look even the slightest bit regretful. Haijin crossed her arms, watching him with a mix of concern and tenderness. Junho chuckled softly. I've never felt so free. She sighed, sitting beside him. But what now? What are you going to do? Without the company, without your family? He took her hand in his. I'm going to build something of my own. With my own hands, my own way, and I want you by my side. Hi, Jin's heart pounded. It still felt surreal that a man like him had chosen her, not wealth, not power, just her. The following months were challenging. Junho used his experience to start a new company, free from the influence of the Kang family. Over time, he managed to attract investors and reclaim his place in the business world, but this time was something he truly believed in. As for his family, the tension remained. His mother refused to speak to him, but his father, in secret, showed quiet respect for his decision. Slowly, the broken ties began to mend. On a starry night, atop a skyscraper where Junho was inaugurating his new company headquarters, he knelt before Haijin, holding a small, simple ring, modest, yet filled with meaning. Shin Haijin, would you build a life with me? Tears streamed down Jin's face before she could even respond. Yes, she laughed through her sobs, throwing herself into his arms. 2 years later, their wedding was a modest affair, but filled with love. No excessive luxury, just friends and family who truly cared about them. Even Junho's mother appeared at the end of the ceremony, saying nothing, but leaving a small gift on the table before quietly departing. And when, sometime later, Haijin told him about the tiny life growing inside her, Junho knew that despite all the hardships, he had made the right choice. Because in the end, true love is worth more than any fortune.